I'm gonna believe in the Scarlet Witch and the fact that Hex Magic for some reason has Arcane on it. I do
Oh,
think the
they knew.
Arcane on
Yeah,
that
they
is
knew.
so funny to me because I believe that's the only Arcane card in that set.
There's also a counterspell with Arcane. We say Dine.
Is that really? Does it really
Yeah.
have? Why does it have?
I my assumption at the moment is honestly that they wanted to put Arcane and Hex Magic for the modern players. Like, here you go, dummies, play this.
Oh my god, it does
And
have
then they
Arcane.
decided, well, we can't have only one Arcane card. So they're like, they found some spell that they already had that sort of fit, and they put Arcane on it. That's my
You know what?
that's my
I've
guess.
cast that card so many times. I don't believe I ever realized it had Arcane. Wait, hold on. Wait,
Are you going to
wait.
do something with this?
Well, I was just thinking about this. Does
Okay.
this mean they can finally implement through the breach on MTG Arena to put in the cube?
Oh, yeah,
I was
maybe.
thinking
Maybe this
about
is the
that.
strategy. And maybe they're like, well,
Yes.
Hex Magic might not be good enough to put in the queue, but maybe we say they nay. This generic little quench thing definitely is.
And then we can finally implement Splice onto Arcane for one card and put it in the Arena cube as well, because through the breach is like a necessary piece of redundancy.
Wow, that's deep. That's genius. Okay, so Jarvis Yu, welcome to the Stock Up Podcast. Thank you so much for filling in for Jacob. Um, for those of you who don't know Jarvis, he is a longtime Magic player. I've known him as an Eternal specialist, I would say, particularly Legacy. I know you've had a lot of success on the Grand Prix circuit back when that was a thing, and I believe, from what I understand, those are mostly during Legacy tournaments. You even have a Grand Prix win in Legacy. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. A lot of people associate me as Land's one trick, I guess is the kindest way of putting it. I don't know for those of you who can see, there is a giant Mox Diamond back there that's framed. It does look very nice, of
Mm,
course.
I like it.
Um, I did pick that up in like 2022 from people who had leftover giant cards. I don't know.
You've even
It's
got the
nice to
Barren
remember
Lage
those
above
things.
it.
Oh yeah, someone sent me that. I don't know who sent me it. It just came in the mail, no return address. I'm just like, oh, that's nice. I guess someone wanted to send me a present. So yeah, I guess I would describe myself as I believed Legacy Grand Prix at one point were the best way for me to qualify for the Pro Tour. So I played a lot of them and did pretty well in most of them. I do have one standard Grand Prix top eight. That was in Mardu Vehicles was big and standard. Um, I actually remember that tournament really well because I remember making top eight by crewing my own Gideon to death to flip Avacyn on my opponent's turn.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, that was kind of an interesting format. I remember Avacyn being sort of, the headliner of
Broken?
that format. Yep.
Yeah,
Looking back
yeah.
on it now, just, as you say that, that's the card I remember for sure. Okay, so for today, well, this weekend we have the Pro Tour, Marvel Superheroes Pro Tour. Jacob is, traveling and getting ready to compete in that. So, like I said, Jarvis is going to be filling in for now. We're going to be doing some predictions, PT predictions. We've got some questions lined up. Maybe we won't get to them all. We're generally just going to have a conversation about modern and some things, but yeah. So what do you think, Jarvis? Have you done something like this before? Is this pretty fun?
Yeah, the first few times I did it were on the Dominant Harvia podcast. Rest in peace, that podcast. Well, it still occasionally comes out with episodes, but I would not say it's regular by any means. But basically, Ari's retired, and sometimes Dom has guests there to do a podcast with, but not the same regularity at which they do things anymore. So Ari and I used to predict how Dom would do in the PT and stuff like that. You know, it's sort of like rooting on your friends in an indirect sort of way, but also, you proving you can predict the future as well. Maybe a little
All
bit
right.
of
Well,
vision or
yeah.
Voltron. I don't know.
I don't know how much vision I'm gonna have for the future, but I will do my best. I'm sort of really weak in modern, which is funny because I did make top eight of
Hmm.
a modern Grand Prix, but that was a long time ago, and so I
Oh,
have
really?
chops in yeah, I have
Let
chops
me
in
go find
modern
this
in the
guy.
past, but
What was his Grand Prix Dallas?
Yeah, Dallas Fort Worth.
2019?
Honestly, I
No.
don't remember the year.
No, that was Hogak. So I guess it wasn't that one.
I remember they had just unbanned Golgari Grave Troll.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And then they, banned it
Reband. Yeah.
like a month later or something because that was a mistake, but at the time at least.
Hmm.
But Modern's a lot different now, and I haven't played a
Yeah.
game of Modern in probably 5 years. So
Hmm.
I learn things, I pay attention. I listen to Jacob talk about it, and I have an idea of how the format probably is, but you know, some of my insights might not be the best, but we will see. We'll keep track. See how poorly I do. You guys can roast me if I've got some bad takes.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into it. Just some basic things off the top here. We've got the first one we wrote down. What do you think the most played archetype will be?
So I think, despite people's best judgment, it will be Boros Energy. Um, I do think banning Flage was a huge hit for this deck. And the reason is a lot of your good matchups were good because you had Flage Inevitability and it made counterspells kind of bad versus you. It's also a very simple deck to play. It's pretty clear what your game plan is in basically every matchup, I would say. You're either the beatdown or you're not. You're usually the beatdown if someone's trying to combo kill you or you're playing against Tron. And versus other mid-range decks, you can usually just based on your how your hand is in the matchup, I suppose. So I think it's going to be Boros Energy.
Yeah. That makes sense to me. I am generally impressed with Boros Energy. Um, I do understand that the deck's probably weaker without Flage, but it does seem really strong still. I guess it would be Affinity.
Hmm.
Um, Talking with Jacob, he seemed to be pretty low on Boros Energy, and I thought maybe that was a sign that the other PT players might be low on it too. I do think it's possible one of the things that's going on with the metagame right now, or if you look at like MTG Goldfish and online data, you see Boros Energy everywhere. I think maybe the deck is still strong without Flage, and people already have it built and they
Hmm.
love it, and it's kind of like the people's deck. It's been around for a while, and so I think people are reluctant to jump off of it. But I think perhaps the PT players will still play it, but play it at a less frequent clip. So I thought maybe Affinity, which is like the next deck up, it seems like in popularity would be really popular, and that deck also seems pretty impressive to me.
So one thing about the Affinity deck is some people will never play that type of deck because of the range of hands it can produce. Uh, there are certainly not hands you should ever keep in that deck that have lands and spells. And in fact, I would say if I were playing this event, I would probably write a guide for myself or think about what hands you're about to keep in Mulligan. I would probably ship any hand that doesn't have a payoff immediately. That Urza Saga, Pinnacle Emissary, or Kappa Cannoneer count to me. I don't think weapons manufacturing really counts because all that does is make a bunch of things that you have to sacrifice later. Uh, Open deck list moves the needle a little bit, but I think not enough to make it so that you don't have a proactive plan by turn two or three, and hopefully you can just get lucky and turn one Kappa Cannoneer. That is theoretically possible in this deck, and I'm sure your opponent's dead if you turn one Kappa Cannoneer.
Oh yeah, yeah, it has very powerful draws. I know, and in the modern day where we have our new Mulligan rule,
Mm-hmm.
I think decks like this have just generally improved across the board, and I think probably that widens the scope of players who are willing to play it.
Mm-hmm.
I know it also has the problem of there are certain sideboard cards that are really good against it, so it can only be so popular. So maybe it's bold to put it as first, but that was my thought. So those are our guesses for the archetypes. What about the most played main deck card?
Yeah, I thought about this. Perhaps it would be better to say non-land, if I had to guess.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would.
So
I
sure.
thought of it that way.
Yeah, that's a really hard question. That's basically saying what do you think the most played deck is going to be, or what like subset of decks do you think are going to be the most played deck? So interesting thing is Guide of Souls goes into multiple energy shells now, the Azorius energy deck and the Boros energy deck. So I might go with Guide of Souls for that reason because it covers basically all of the energy decks now. I think Jeskai energy, as imagined before, that sort of deck is completely dead. if you see like a controlling Jeskai strategy, I don't think it's going to have Guide of Souls or Ocelot. Or sorry, I think Jeskai Energy now might have Ocelot Pride and Guide of Souls in it, as opposed to before where it was just kind of a Flicker, Solitude, Flage, like Wrath of the Skies control deck.
Okay, that makes sense. Um, my thought was Solitude,
Okay.
and it seems like that's just it. Maybe some of the most popular decks don't play it, but like Glorious Vengeance plays it. Um, you know, Boros Ponza plays it. All these control decks play it. If you play against any of these like Esper or like Blink decks, they all play it. Um, so that was my guess. Yeah,
Yeah,
when people
I
do play it, also it's a
mhm,
card they often play four of,
mhm,
and they often play it in the main deck. So it's we have a separate question of what would be the most popular sideboard card. So I don't think it's going to be split too much.
right.
Um, yeah.
Well, actually, I think there will be a big split there. I'll explain why when we get to that. But I do think Solitude is a reasonable choice. I think it just depends on how many teams think that Esper Gorgios or Esper Blink or that sort of strategy are reasonable, or even something crazy like 4 to 5 color Birthing Ritual that has like Shardless Agent. I know this is not the most seen deck, but I have been impressed with that deck in the past. Although I was more impressed with that deck because it actually annihilated Amulet Titan.
Oh,
That deck would actually popped up as a foil to Amulet Titan in our local area because um a local person from Northern Virginia. There's a lot of Amulet Titan in this area because Nathan of the Gilt Leaf and Pete, who's Sissian, both Amulet RC winners, are here. So it's like, well, let's build a deck that actually beats Amulet and actually does something powerful. So Shardless Agent, Birthing Ritual is what he came up with that has 4 Magmatic Hellkite and Solitudes and stuff like that. So, maybe some people do something crazy like that. Now, I would say this sort of deck is not the best versus other unfair decks in game one, but you can board like a lot of blue permission spells if you want to.
that sounds like an interesting deck. That along those lines, that was sort of my thought process too. Where like something like Guide of Souls
Mm-hmm.
is a very popular card, but it kind of fits within certain archetypes. Where Solitude is sort of just like this really generically powerful card that could be in a lot of decks down the
Sure.
line in the other category, sort of thing. Um, what is your estimation of Amulet Titan now? By the way, since they've banned Lotus Field,
Uh,
I've been trying to get a read on it, and I don't really know.
I think if you love Amulet Titan and you still want to play it, it is probably fine for you to do so. I now do not believe there is a pressing need for other people to have to pick up the deck like there was before. I don't think the power level is quite there anymore. Mostly because I think the like low resource scapeshift kills no longer exist now because Lotus Field basically did it all. It got all of the lands in the graveyard and it basically produced like at least like if you shifted from 2 lands, you got +2 mana basically. Going from 4 to 6 is my assumption. But now it's like, well, you need to do a lot more work. You might need a Zurin Orb or a Sylvan Safekeeper to actually like complete the loop as well. It Going from basically a self-contained kill to needing like 2 or 3 more parts is not very interesting to me. Now, I do think the Primeval Titan part of the deck is still like equally good, but I don't think I think basically you're not as invulnerable to a lot of hate cards as you used to be. It is what weakens the deck in my estimation.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, just slowing it down in general, right, is going to do that. Um, most played sideboard card.
Okay, so I saw yours. I would have picked this without seeing yours as well.
Uh
I
huh.
just think Consigned to Memory is kind of a broken card in basically all Eternal formats. I'm including Legacy and Vintage here because I think it is one of the best cards in basically all those formats now. A brief reminder on the Legacy and Vintage thing. The Fantastic Car has been running rampant over those formats, so Consigned to Memory also makes sense there, is what I would say. So just
I've seen.
it's just great. It's basically the blue Pyroblast, I think, for older formats, is how I would describe it.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I picked Consigned Memory too. I feel like I remember from the last Modern PT, this might have been the most popular card. Full stop. Um, and I still see it in just as many sideboards, pretty much. Do you kind of hate the existence of this card?
um, I hate that has replicate, but I understand why it has replicate because it
Yeah.
was in the same set as MH3, so off the whole draws you have cast triggers. So I think they wanted a safety valve. I think it's a little bit overtuned, but now that it exists, you can't really ever ban this type of card because it's like banning basically an overglorified, hyper efficient counterspell.
Right. Sure. Okay. All right. Um, do you have any picks for a biggest overperformer or an underrated deck?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Let me take a real quick look at Goldfish and see. Um,
I could give mine while you're thinking about it.
yeah, Dude, yeah,
I chose Blue White Control with Chant Scepter,
okay.
and I don't think it's going to be a crazy good deck or anything, but I think the last Modern Pro Tour is kind of like where this deck really got its footing, and I think
Hmm.
it's a deck that kind of benefits from pro players tuning it really well and doing a lot of work rather than just people who play on Magic Online and play against a really wide field and don't change their deck very much. And it does seem pretty powerful. And then also, kind of biasly, again, my I kind of have tunnel vision when it comes to modern a little bit in terms of like the content I consume. And I know Jacob kind of likes the deck, and I know um, Gab Nassif kind of likes the deck. And those are two people that I kind of get a lot of modern info from. So
Okay.
might be a little biased.
I'll unpack that real quick.
Sure.
I think Gab being a fan of that deck is not a great data point one or the other because he tends to like that sort of deck, is
He,
what I would say. But
he
who
definitely does
knows?
in terms of him playing it.
Sure.
But if you listen to his podcast, he does like he will say that like I'm playing these decks and they're bad.
Hmm.
Like he'll play versions of Blue White Control without Chant, for instance, and he'll say I think it's better to play Chant, Scepter, this sort of thing. So that's one thing. But I definitely hear you.
Well, I actually think Gab is going to play iTwitch if I had to guess.
Oh
Because
wow.
well, I have no information except what he's been streaming and what he's been saying and other results, but I sort of suspect that that deck is actually highly underrated. And I think I'm just going to pick that.
That's
Mostly because
interesting.
I think most people have no idea what this deck can even do. Is really the reason I want to pick it.
Can you tell me
And
about it a bit?
yeah, let me pull up the list that Gab has been playing real quick. And now I have to remember if he was playing on the real account or the DB account. All right. Okay. So basically, this is a persist deck. It has Eye Twitch, so it also has Archon Cruelty, has Overlord of the Bale Mark. So really, I think you can view it as sort of a Reanimator deck that is also a mid-range deck. So I'll list the following cards: four Eye Twitch, four Stitcher Supplier, four Emperor Bones, two Bowmasters, three Bogger Trawler, four Overlord of the Bale Mark, one Deceit, three Troll of Khazad-dûm, four Archon of Cruelty, one Bone Shards, two Thoughtseize, one Hunt for Specimens, which is another learn card. I believe it makes a pest and it learns. Four Persist, a Victimize, which I don't know if you've ever seen this card before. That's a real banger. It
I do
basically
believe I have, but I think I need to look at it
so
again.
it's a two and a black sorcery. Basically, you choose two target creature cards in your graveyard, sack a creature. If you do, return the chosen cards to the battlefield tapped.
Yeah, this was in a version of a Magic Arena cube at one point, and I used to
Yeah.
play with it.
Well, I think it got onto Arena via MH3, if I had to guess.
Probably. Yep.
Yeah. The original printing is from Urza Saga, I believe, where black was extremely broken. So, it's funny to see that sort of thing coming back. But it is a powerful card. If you ever get double Archon off of that, the game is probably just over on the spot. But you probably don't want to play more than one of this, and hence there's exactly one.
Oh, right,
Um,
right, right.
there's a small lesson package. It has like an Origin of Metal Bending, which I'm sure you know from Standard. A True Ancestry, a Ruinous Water Bending, which is an infest basically, but as an additional cost, you may pay Waterbend 4, and if you do, oh wow, that's real not good. If you pay the Waterbend cost, whenever a creature dies this turn, you also gain one life. That's really not good. Um, And there's a sideboard
Not now.
Decorum Dissertation, which is the big lesson mythic from Secrets of Strixhaven. So if you float out, you can do that. But one other real notable thing is there's one Crypt of Agadeem in the second, one Phyrexian Tower. So these are like your broken like mana cards um to like accelerate you if necessary. Like Crypt of Agadeem, I'm sure you don't want to draw too many of that card. But the first one, if you like mill yourself for a bunch, maybe you just like net 2 or 3 mana off of it, and that seems really good.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I'm a little surprised to hear there's only one tower, I guess. But
Oh, sorry, there are 4 towers. Never mind.
okay,
I just
makes more
cannot read.
sense.
Okay, there's 4 Phyrexian Tower, 2 Spymaster's Vault, four
Okay,
Swamp, an Underground Mortuary, 4 Verdant Catacomb, an Overgrown Tomb, and Crypt of Agadeem. There's no basic forest. I think basic forest is probably trolling yourself because literally every card in the main deck is black. And there's 5 green cards on the sideboard. The other green cards that are not lessons are 3 Calling Ritual. So,
gotcha. Okay, for the affinity and Boris matchups and whatnot. Yeah, I mean Tower, Phyrexian Tower Eye Twitch. I mean that's probably like the backbone of the deck in a lot of
yeah.
ways.
So I'll put down Golgari, eye twitch.
Okay, wow.
If I can edit this. Oh, I can't edit it, but I'll let you type it in.
So what would convince you that it overperformed if that deck shows up at
Uh,
all, or now
I
the winning
mean,
record?
I guess if, well, I guess if one person registers it and they go 7-3, that's like good, but that doesn't really prove much because the end's so small. I guess I would say if 5 people registered it and their win rate was like above 53%, then I would consider that as overperforming.
Okay, I mean that sounds like it'd be pretty good, um, from my expectations at least. So that's pretty interesting. I do know Gab was not communicating with his team for like up until like maybe the last
Mhm.
week or two, so he could just stream freely. So
Mhm.
maybe they'll turn him around in the week they have to talk to him, but we'll see.
Well, I also think Gab is more interested in doing his own thing. Like these tournaments, he wants to enjoy the deck he's playing, which is, I mean, honestly, enjoying the deck you're playing is an important part of tournament success, anyways. But I think for him personally, uh, he would basically never play Esper Warriors or like quote unquote number one stock best deck unless if it was really good. I think it would have to be like Underworld Breach levels good, is what I would say.
Okay. Well, I can relate. I also sort of see Magic in a way that's, I want to make sure I'm having a good experience overall. It's a big factor for me. So, okay, what if we flip it around? Biggest underperformer. My guess was actually Ruby Storm. Ruby Storm got a new card, got Hex Magic, and I do think this is probably a good card for the deck. But I think maybe this deck is just not that good despite it, and I don't think it's enough to turn around. But it may trick people into playing the deck again because I know PT players like their Storm decks,
Well,
and
a few do.
a few do, sure.
Hall of Famers mostly. Rest in peace, Kai and John Finkel. I mean, they
Yeah,
played like the Storm Mirror in like the 1-4 bracket of that PT, which is really not good for either of them. It's very
nice.
funny.
Yeah.
Um, I actually have an answer for this that's not Ruby Storm.
Okay.
I think the Basking Brute Scale deck is terrible. Like, I've watched it and played against it so many times, and my opinion does not increase ever of it. Um,
Yeah.
let me explain this because it does sound like I'm just being a hater. One, I think the Emrakul thing sort of makes your deck really disjointed, and that's what I hate about the deck. Uh, it's just like you have these. The Rumbles are obviously really good in the deck, and they're supposed to like help you on the Emrakul front and the other front. But at the same time, you're a big mana deck who floods out and gets screwed more than any other deck I've seen in my life. And it's just like I don't know. It feels like you're bad playing a bad Tron deck or a bad Eldrazi Ramp deck a lot of the time, and a bad Devoted Druid deck. So I sort of feel like that deck just has all of the weaknesses that I hate, and it's like weak to really commonly played sideboard cards.
Yeah, being weak to consign is definitely a pretty big factor, and just other sideboard cards. I guess in my
And
mind, the
removal.
Emrakul thing is the idea there is like you're a creature combo deck where your opponent has to interact with you a lot, and so if they do that and slow down the game, then you have the Emrakuls. But Modern's probably not the format for that sort of thing. Um, I guess I kind of agree with you there.
It's funny because I played against that deck as Tron, and basically none of my removal kills their brute scale, and I still somehow beat them. Like it's just very weird to me. Like I feel like that shouldn't happen either, right? Like my Devour of Destinies are completely dead, my Ugins are completely dead. Like it's
Yeah,
just
I mean
like
that sounds
what's
like they should have the advantage for sure.
well, it's just the Tron deck is so much faster if you are willing to not keep terrible seven. Like I know there was a Pro Tour where Jacob actually played Eldrazi Tron. Probably one of the lessons is you shouldn't keep terrible hands because that deck actually mulligans really well. I think the keep range of that deck has extended because of Ukin's Labyrinth. So like basically there are more hands you're allowed to keep because you have more functional ancient tombs that are actual ancient tombs. Like Ugin's Lab, imprint to 7, play Mindstone. That's 3 mana on turn 1. Then you can play like a Karn or a Thought on CR on turn 2 in that sort of way. So uh, it's interesting because I think Eldrazi Tron's kind of good and also kind of terrible at the same time. So I don't expect many people to register it.
Hmm. It kind of terrible as in like it has some terrible matchups
I, I think there
or
are some things that you really.
inconsistencies.
I think it's not actually a consistency issue. I think the deck is extremely consistent. My experience playing that deck for basically 3 RCQs is that it's kind of broken in a weird way if you're willing to mulligan, but also it's just very easy to play against, I feel like I don't have any issue playing a strong deck that's easy to play against because I think if my deck's easy to play, I'm probably not going to make many mistakes, so that's fine. So I get some win percentage there. But it's just like your game plans are just so scripted, and especially in the open decklist thing, like it does cut both ways because I think one of the strengths of Eldrazi Tron is actually Chalice of the Void. So the real question is how good is Chalice of the Void? With Cascade being on the downturn, it seems like I'm not convinced Chalice is that good anymore, which is one of the primary reasons I wanted to play the deck. So I don't know, it's complicated. I think it's simultaneously great and bad at the same time. So it's very weird.
Yeah. It I do like that deck. I do see I think it's gotten gained popularity, it seems like, which is interesting because I don't
Mhm.
didn't really think like Flage or anything was particularly good against it, but I do
Mm,
feel like I see it more when I look at the online data, but maybe that's just observation bias. I'm not sure.
So I think part of it was Brady, one of the people who did qualify for the mocks off of Legacy, did win the mocks with Eldrazi. But it's actually telling. His record in the like actual 3 rounds of Modern was 1-2, but he 3-0'd the
Oh
Vintage
wow.
Redraft, and then he won the playoff match versus Boros Energy, which is probably one of your better matchups. Uh, so I think it did get a little bit steam from that, but I think simultaneously other people have been trying it online. I do think one of the like big draws to that deck, especially online, is it's very fast to play. So if you want to play more matches, it's like you can get through so many matches so quickly.
Right. Okay. Um boy, we haven't talked about this is a Marvel superheroes Pro Tour. We haven't talked about any of the Marvel
Mhm.
superheroes cards yet. We do have a couple questions relating to this. Um I put this question, we've got it titled No New Friends. What do you think the over under on top eight decks with zero Marvel superhero cards would be if I give you 3.5?
um, I'll take over, but that's because I believe one lucky person with Ruby Storm will make top eight with four Hex Magic in their deck.
Okay, sure. I also put over. Over under top eight was zero. Oh, over under. This was zero. So you're saying under? I'm
Oh, wait.
misunderstanding.
No. I think the way this is meant to be understood is how many Marvel superheroes top eight or cards are there in top eight, like in aggregate.
Oh, in
So,
aggregate. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
so I guess I would say there are new friends, and you're saying there are no new friends, right?
That's my thought. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So just put me for over and you for under, and we can reword it slightly. But basically, I believe that either Hex Magic or the the Stone Rain slash deal three to everything will make top eight in some number. And there's a small outside chance of Loki, God of Mischief, as well with like Mishra's Bauble and Grinding Station or stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that was a chance to. This is my mistake. I actually misunderstood it to be decks in the top eight with those with any copies of them.
Oh, you can interpret it that way too, but I think that's way too many because I think that's just like highly unlikely. It would be like one deck at most, I think.
Right,
One
right.
or two.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Um, and you think so? Then you think the most played Marvel superhero card will be in the top eight will be Hex Magic?
Yeah. I guess I believe in Ruby Storm more than you do. Although I guess I also see Azax complain about getting unlucky more than you do as well. But I don't think that will stop. I don't think that will stop people who really want to play it and do well with it from playing it in the event. Because I do think, like, honestly, people talk about how Storm's really hard to play. The Ruri Storm deck, I feel like, is the most intuitive deck for me to play because you just cast all of your spells most of the time. Like, it's just like it's a simple like linear optimization problem based on all of your turns. I don't really think it's hard, but I think people confuse the two things. Taking a lot of game actions with a hard deck. And to me that's like nothing like that. I think the difficulty in Magic is like when you're presented with a position where you're not sure what you're doing. Like Doomsday is hard because like literally you have to predict what's going to happen for 3 turns in a row. You don't have access to the rest of your deck, and you only have 5 cards left in your deck. So I think that's hard. Um,
Yeah,
I
for
also
sure.
yeah, I also think playing like I don't know. Well, what's another good example besides Doomsday? Doomsday is the obvious one, I think. Maybe like the Doomsday Excruciator mirrors in Standard are kind of like that too, because it's kind of weird, because it's not even clear that you should cast your Excruciator first, because then it gets kind of goofy. So maybe that's a good example as well. So I think just taking a lot of game actions doesn't make a deck hard. I think it just means you have to be ready to like do it quickly in a reasonable time frame, especially in paper magic.
Yeah, as long as you understand it right. And I mean, the play
Yeah.
pattern of Storm throughout years and years in Magic has been pretty similar. So it's
Mhm.
kind of a one trick pony in that sense. Once you learn how to do it, you can kind of do it in different iterations of different decks. I mean, one thing is you have to know the different interactive cards in your opponent's deck. That matters, but that matters for most combo decks. Um, because I'm determined to not believe in Ruby Storm, I chose Avengers Disassembled as that seems like
Sure.
the best next card from the set for modern. I think that red white Ponce deck's pretty popular, and I could
Mhm.
see it seems like a deck that probably has polarized matchups.
Oh, yes. Um,
And so I could see someone getting kind of lucky in a sense and getting a string of good matchups and doing well in draft and then maybe making top eight.
yeah, well, one thing about that deck, that is one of the ultimate decks that you must play quickly because it's actually really, really slow to win with in paper, is my observation. Because basically, a lot of the matchups you play, you have to kill all of their lands and start casting your creatures, and it takes a really long time. So if you're not prepared to play all of your turns lightning fast, it's probably not a good deck for you to play. Is
Yeah.
my like you can tell that this deck is serious about that because there's 4 Quarry Mountain Monastery in it. Like that means you expect the game to last like 10 plus turns. Like there's no way you can put that card in your deck unless you actually need to like JMD tome like 5 times or whatever.
Yeah. Especially four of them, right? I mean, that's a
It,
super tell. I
the,
agree.
well, the Sunken Citadels help a lot there. Every time I look at that deck, I wonder why there aren't 4 Sunken Citadels, and I realize it's modern. You can't play that many tap lands. That's really the issue. Like the 4 Citadel, 4 Monastery, like means your hands just have too many tap lands in them, probably.
Yeah. I me and Jacob were kind of wondering if maybe they could cut a few of these colorless lands and fit in, a couple fetches and some elegant parlors. I mean, elegant parlor wouldn't help with the tap land situation, but maybe it would let you keep a wider range of hands if you had fetch lands instead of all these colorless lands.
I don't know. I'll let someone else who's playing the Pro Tour actually figure that out. Well, also, they actually did submit decks about let's see. It would have been 6 a.m. on East Coast. That's when decks were due, I believe. I believe it was 12 p.m. local time, aka Amsterdam time, which I think is 6 a.m. And you were probably actually I noticed you were still awake at that point. Or
Yeah, I'm up pretty late.
so you're a nocturnal person is how would you describe
I,
that?
yeah, I
Okay.
I'm a bartender is my job,
Oh, okay.
so
That
I'm up
makes
really
way
late.
more sense. Actually, that's super cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I like going to bars occasionally, not
yeah.
every day, but once in a while.
So I'm regularly getting home after midnight, and then
Okay,
I'm
this makes a
not
lot more
ready for
sense.
bed. And yeah, I'm a filthy Magic player, so I play a bunch of Magic after work. And
And then you send me links at 6 a.m. my time, and I like try to figure out where you live, where this would make sense. Because I'm pretty sure you're not on my sleep schedule, which is I go to sleep around like 10 p.m. Eastern and wake up at 5
yeah,
because of my horrible commute. But
I
that's a
see.
whole different story.
If you were a morning person, I wanted to make sure you had it when you woke up, so I decided to send it to you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I
Uh,
I was wondering about that, but yeah, the Boris deck, I think it's good. The fetch land power thing I hadn't considered. I will be interested to see how many people actually register that deck because I do think it takes like a special type of person to register that deck as well. You have to be serious about playing that deck if you register it, like seriously.
this deck looks a lot of fun to me. Like I would be the type of person to play this deck, but I am not a normal, Pro Tour competitor. Hence, not having qualified for very many Pro Tours. But uh,
Well,
we'll see.
I have it on good. I've heard through the grapevine that some people who are quite good are considering this deck because it actually has a lot of really good matchups and a few really bad matchups, but they didn't expect the bad matchups to be able to be played.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, that's if if you just feel
Mhm.
like rolling the dice, it that could be a positive. It could be a way to spike a tournament. But of course, it's all just about what you think overall. Your math equation leads to your win percentage, that sort of thing. But yeah. Um, let's see, where are we? Breakout decks in the top eight, over under 2.5.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I think it sort of depends on how you define it as breakout. Like, there are a lot of fringe modern decks that I've seen in the last few years that people could conceivably play. Like, would you consider Keth's combo a breakout deck?
I would say so because I don't even really know what that is.
Oh, I've seen this deck like at Northern Virginia RCQs off and on for the last 2 years. So I guess
Okay.
to me it's not breakout because I play against it so much, but it has gotten better because it also is a surveillance cam deck as well.
Oh,
So
right. Okay.
maybe you can find a list for it. I also don't like it does have the same shell of how it kills people, which is you can chase them out, but you can also like cam. Okay, I can send you, or I can list an example deck list of one of the Northern Virginia people and see if you can figure out how to play it from this list.
All
All right,
right, let's do it.
there are four Tameo, there's three Loki, there's four Emery, there's three Kethis, four Rumble, four Mishra's Wobble, four Mox Amber, four Mox Opal, three Surveillance Cam, Skateboard, Agatha Soul Cauldron, three Grinding Station, a Teferi, Time Raveler, a Jace the Perfected Mind, two Boseiju Endures, one Breeding Pool, a Hallowed Fountain and Island, a Lush Portico, four Misty Rainforests, an Otawara, four Plaza of Heroes, a Temple Garden, three Urza Saga, Watery Grave.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's kind
I,
of hard
I
when you
understand
can't.
the like grind station loop. So,
Yeah. There's also like non-deterministic loops where you jace yourself for a bunch of cards and see if you can get this again, like replaying all of your Moxen to recast the Jace. Because
mhm.
if you like, sometimes you just get to a point where you have enough legendary permanents in your graveyard that you can repeat this loop enough to mill your opponent out instead. So that can also happen.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I got Kethis in front of me. This is Kethis the Hidden Hand from Corset 2020. Absolute
Yes.
mana, white, black, green, 3/4. Legendary spells you cast cost one less to cast. And you can exile two legendary cards from your graveyard. And then until end of turn, each legendary card in your graveyard gains. You may play this card from your graveyard. I This was like a combo deck in like standard for a little bit, I
Uh,
think.
Pioneer as well until they
Pioneer.
banned Kethis.
Yeah.
So it's obviously it has breach vibes, but the one really bad thing about this is you're playing an Abzan card in your base blue deck. Like it's just not it makes your mana kind of bad, and that's why there's four positive heroes. Because like obviously it has utility besides that. But another common way for you to win is to just get Kethis in your graveyard and soul cauldron it onto another creature and then do it that way.
Yeah,
because Soul Cartridge is ridiculous.
this is definitely a breakout deck. This is
Okay,
ridiculous.
fine. If someone wins it, well, put that down as a breakdown deck. I
I
just don't
almost feel
think.
like Ponza might be the line. Like, is Ponza a breakout deck? Kind of.
No. Well, if you play MTGO, it's not, right?
Fair.
Like,
All right, fine. But
but
like in terms of the first, this is like will be the first modern Pro Tour, and it might have some new
sure.
cards even.
Well, my favorite piece of technology was I saw Mick Winsloss post on some platform saying he's going to play Rust Fail Bridge in his deck. I'm just like, that's insane.
I saw
That's
that.
also borrow technology from Pauper. That's actually very common for people to do in Pauper with Cleansing Wildfire on their own artifact lands to rampant growth and draw a card.
Yeah, my friend showed me his Popper deck. I haven't played Popper in a long time, which that's a funny story because I went to play when I first moved here. I went to go play Popper
Uh-huh.
at the local. Well, I just showed up at a local card store and was like looking
Mhm.
for friends, and they're like, "Oh, we're playing Popper. Do you want to play?" And they showed me a variety of decks to pick from to play with them, and like I hadn't played Popper in a decade, and at least half the decks I knew what they were.
Mhm.
I ended up playing like a mono blue fairies, and I went 3-0 in the tournament. And that deck had changed like 15 cards. I don't know, just
So,
slight upgrades.
not to get too off topic, there was actually the biggest Pauper tournament in the United States in Baltimore last weekend. I was doing coverage of the Legacy event attached to it, but the Pauper event was so much bigger. So I just wandered around on Sunday looking at people playing Pauper and it was kind of interesting. That format has gotten really, really, really strong over the years.
It does seem powerful. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So you're choosing? Are you choosing over then? In our origin story
2.5.
question.
No, I think there will be exactly two breakout decks. So I would
Okay.
pick under, but at two.
Yeah. I'm also an under. I just think modern is very explored, and overall we're not going to see anything too crazy. But I would one or two maybe, but probably not three. What about different archetypes in the top eight with over under at 6.5?
6.5? Wow,
That's what you sent me.
we're really hoping, huh?
It's
I'm
optimistic. I
gonna take
agree.
under for sure.
Yeah,
Like,
fair
I
enough.
just think there would be too many dupes. I think if I had to guess, I think there would be it'll break down like 2 2 2, like three duplicates and two one ofs. Essentially, is what I would say. So
Yeah,
six where it's two of one deck, two of one deck, two of one deck, and one of two unique decks. So that's my prediction.
yeah, yeah. I could see at least two duplicates for sure. So, yeah, I don't think we're getting to seven unique decks. All right, how about this one? This one is the Scarlet Witch's influence. Now that we've got Hex Magic in the mix, will Ruby Storm have a positive win rate
50%'s the win rate for it to be
above
even.
50? Yeah, yeah,
Oh
that's
my
possible.
god.
It's not
You know what?
50.5.
I'm gonna believe in the Scarlet Witch and the fact that Hex Magic for some reason has Arcane on it. I do
Oh,
think the
they knew.
Arcane on
Yeah,
that
they
is
knew.
so funny to me because I believe that's the only Arcane card in that set.
There's also a counterspell with Arcane. We say Dine.
Is that really? Does it really
Yeah,
have? Why does it have?
I my assumption at the moment is honestly that they wanted to put Arcane and Hex Magic for the modern players. Like, here you go, dummies, play this.
Oh my god, it does
And
have
then they
Arcane.
decided, well, we can't have only one Arcane card. So they're like, they found some spell that they already had that sort of fit, and they put Arcane on it.
You know
That's
what?
my
I've
gut.
cast that card so many times. I don't believe I ever realized I had Arcane. Wait, hold on.
Are you going to
Wait.
do something with this?
Well, I was just thinking about this. Does
Okay.
this mean they can finally implement through the breach on MTG Arena to put in the cube?
Oh, yeah,
I was
maybe.
thinking
Maybe this
about
is the
that.
strategy. And maybe they're like, well,
Yes.
Hex Magic might not be good enough to put in the queue, but maybe we say they nay. This generic little quench thing definitely is.
And then we can finally implement Splice onto Arcane for one card and put it in the Arena cube as well, because through the breach is like a necessary piece of redundancy.
Wow, that's deep. That's genius. I hope that's what they're doing. It's
I
like three
think
steps
I
ahead.
think I'm reading too much into this, but you can think about it. So I'll go with yes. The Scarlet Witch
Okay.
will cast her spell, and it'll be like 51.5% win rate.
Okay. I'm gonna say no. I
Yes.
I don't like that deck. I kind of think Scarlet Witch is like one of my favorite Marvel characters too, which
Oh
is a
really?
shame.
So
Yeah, I'm
you
not a
want
huge Marvel.
WandaVision?
I liked it. Yeah, I'm not a huge Marvel fan overall. I'll disclaim it with that, but I do like the Scarlet
The,
Witch.
like a little bit of a tangent. The first episode of WandaVision confused me. I'm like, what's going on here? This
Yeah,
was
I
about
love that
Scarlet
show.
Witch. It's very interesting. Not to spoil anything.
Yeah. That is a really good show. Okay, here's an easy one. Will Boris Energy top 32?
I'm gonna go with yes, but that's also because I think it's going to be the most played deck. So there will be
Yeah,
like,
pretty hard for it not to. I also went with yes. I kind of think this deck's still pretty good. I think
mm,
top 32 is pretty easy, honestly.
well, I think one of the things about that deck is it's really good at punching people who stumble. I would say Boros Energy is actually the modern era Jund, in which case, like, if you stumble versus that deck, it will kill you. It's like an overpowered Jund deck almost in a lot of ways. It doesn't really give you a lot of time to breathe. Now, the kind of the issue with the deck, in my opinion, is that I just think the loss of Flage, like, you can lose to Psychic Frog now. Before, I don't think you really could before, but now I think you actually can.
Yeah, it definitely makes the deck worse. I agree with that. It's just such a brutally, it has so many brutally efficient broken cards that I'm not surprised it's still at least decent.
Well,
So it,
I
it
hope
may
I
it may underperform, but top 32
mm,
seems definitely fair.
well, I hope not too many people register like three Arena of Glory anymore. I think there's really no reason to do that now. Like,
Yeah,
the Arena of
definitely
Glory
agree.
thing was really for Flage. I think one arena, one encampment is probably how I would build the deck. I would definitely play three Elegant Parlor now. I played three Elegant Parlor before and people yelled at me. I'm just like, I don't know, it seems kind of good. Like, your games go so long, especially post board, that having three surveils is broken. And this was with Flage in the deck. Just like,
Yeah,
come on. I want to
yeah.
entomb my Flage more often. But
And
that
your deck's all one drops, man. Makes sense. You just
you just
fill it
whittle it
in
in on
anywhere.
turn two. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. How about this one? We had a kind of a new, well, returning deck enter the modern format with the unbanning of whatever it's called, Living End. Well, Living End top 16.
Um, Great question. Buried within that question, I think, is a real question of how to build the deck, which I have not solved, and it doesn't really seem to me that many people have solved. It's before the outbursts got unbanned, I know people were playing Formidable Speaker, Shardless Agent, Halo Forager, and it seemed kind of good to me then. But now with outbursts being unbanned, like, people got really confused on how to build the deck. I'm gonna go with yes, but only if you're a Living End sicko. Like, basically, I think some person who only plays Living End forever probably like figured out how they wanted to build the deck. Maybe they're like team or black. I don't know. Like, I just don't think you should have white in your deck like some other people do on MTGO. But I think the black cards are kind of broken, and the red green card is obviously broken. So
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking along the same lines where it just seems like a really powerful deck and strategy in general, and like maybe it's not super well positioned, but also maybe it's not built right, so maybe someone could crack it and do
yeah,
well.
I'm kind of surprised Jacob isn't the person cracking it because I know he really loves that deck. He once explained it to me that people used to complain about him drawing perfectly with the deck, and then his response was, "My deck is all cyclers, surveil lands, and the things that do the thing. Why wouldn't I draw perfectly?" And I'm just like, that's actually a very interesting way to look at it because it does make sense to me. If your deck really only like converges on that one thing often, it does seem like a great deck, but I think now it's just there are too many question marks on how to build the deck unless you have a dedicated team or if you really understand the deck super well.
Yeah, he loved that. He loves that deck, but he's also just had a newborn, so
Yeah.
I see it in his eyes sometimes when we podcast. Don't tell him, but
Uh,
he looks a little tired. So
Yeah, I mean, he'll
trooping
be
trooping
fine.
along. Oh, he's doing great, and in fact, he's basically never missed a podcast except for a handful of times. So pretty impressive. All right, here's a pretty bold one. Will a control deck make top eight?
So for this question, I actually looked at the invite list. There's one Wafo Tapa in it, this attendance at this Pro Tour, and there's also one Olivier Ruel. These are notorious French control players, I would say. Um, I don't think Anton Ruel signed up, which is kind of funny. I do know from one of the Pro Tours, Olivier Ruel was asking, "Are there like paper pairings or what?" Or it was something like, "I don't have a cell phone. How do I get pairings?" Or something ridiculous like that. And I'm just like,
Nice.
really in 2024 you're doing this? This is very baffling, but sure. Um, I guess what I'm going to say is I believe one person will top eight, and it's most likely to be Wafo Tapa.
That'd be so cool to see him.
Yeah.
I did not know Waffle Top was coming, but I said yes. I think the blue white control deck is kind of
Yeah.
underrated, so I think it has a chance.
Well, the real question is, will Wafo Tapa put Orm Chant in his deck? And I think the answer is no.
Probably not. He'll probably have his own variation, yeah, for sure.
For Field of Ruin, for Monster Tongue.
Yeah, Wanji Tongue, all instant speed. Hey,
Yeah.
sign me up. All right, so you also have yes. That's exciting. Like me a control deck. All right. Well, there's also draft at the PTs, as it turns out. So we do get to see some Marvel superheroes cards in draft.
Hmm.
Um, this set has a bonus sheet. So some really kind of interesting when you're watching on camera. Can you figure out what this card is? Type of situations come up. Do you think
Yes.
we'll have this show up on camera where we have a rare bonus sheet card?
Yeah. I need. I'll go with yes, but the question is how rare will that card be? I'm sort of hoping for a good Righteous Fury because I don't think most people have ever seen this card in their life.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to look at that one. The way I decided this was I just looked at the options
Mhm.
and I saw there were some broken cards in there, and I was like, well, some of these cards people would definitely play, and there's going to be a decent amount of rounds of draft. I mean, nowadays on camera they tend to not only show the feature match, but then they also have like backup matches recorded, so you do actually see quite a bit more Magic, which I think is a good change, by the way, for coverage.
I agree.
So yeah, in my mind, this was just kind of a stats question, and I,
Mhm.
lean on the side of yes.
Oh, one thing that bothers me about the bonus sheet is Sword of Fire and Ice is represented as Captain America's shield. I'm just like, what the heck? This is
No,
so like, yeah, I'm not joking. It's like called like it looks like a shield, and I'm just like, this is really dishonest to the original. Let
wow,
me
I
find
can't
it.
seem to find it on Scryfall at the moment. I don't know how I found it before.
I googled it last time. I remembered because I also remember not being able to find it in Skyfall. Oh, Rancor is like weirdly strong. I think when people aren't ready for it, like, and they don't know it exists.
Yeah, Ranker's great.
Yeah.
It's like Path to
Oh
Exile,
yeah, it's called
Archangel Finn.
Patriotic Shield.
Ugh,
It's just Captain America raising his shield, and there's like
that's
fire
so
blasting
bad.
down on it, but it's Sword of Fire and Ice. I'm just like, what are we doing here? I don't know.
Is
I'm
there
just
really not some kind of sword in Marvel that's something you could use? It
oh,
probably
there's
is,
plenty
right?
of swords, but Captain America doesn't use them. That's why I think they went this route.
Sure. Uh,
But yeah, I think that there are plenty of reasonably good cards that you should play. Like Roaming Thrones on this sheet, apparently. I think that's actually pretty strong with if you just name Hero. Like that probably will do enough or whatever. There's just a ton of come to play ability creatures that if you double them are probably pretty good.
yeah, and there's also stuff that's like just relatively playable, which, in pod draft can sometimes get scrappy, so
Well, I'm hoping someone dies to Fury of the Horde.
that'd be sweet.
And
I have
also
to read this
apparently
one.
there are a few Wrath of Gods like on the bonus sheet. Like
Yeah, there's a lot of
there's
sweepers I noticed, like expensive ones.
yes. Yeah. There's basically the Black Fort Farewell. It's called Final Act. It basically kills everything you would care about at like in anything really. You can even make each opponent lose all counters, which is so weird.
Yeah. There's a Extinction Event, Massacre Girl, Final Showdown.
Oh, I opened Massacre Girl in a draft. Every game I cast it, basically set it up so it would actually kill the entire board. Because I guess it's not completely obvious if you read Massacre Girl, but basically, if there's a 1-1 and a 2-2 and a 3-3, so forth, it will just chain all the way up until like it hits a terminal point. So basically, if there's like toughnesses that are right next to each other, it will just go all the way until like it skips a toughness. So
I did exactly two of the collector box arena directs, and I had a deck with Massacre Girl and two Herbies. The two one.
yeah.
I was like, oh, this is gonna be perfect, and I went one, two, just very quickly
Oh,
Ninja Massacre Girl.
I think this is a
That.
really high power level sealed format too, so it's really not
Yeah, and
the best.
directs best of one, just
Yeah.
that's how it goes. Um, all right, what about most common color among trophy decks?
Well,
So decks at 3-0.
I think if you've played a reasonable amount of this draft format or even looked at the data, it's pretty clear that Azorius is a broken draft deck. And I think what's underlying the basis for that is really white. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of broken white rares and mythics as well, which probably doesn't help matters either. But the commons are just like insanely good at like there's basically the equivalent of Inspiring Overseer, which is Hero in Training, which is a 2 and white 2/2 draw a card, but if you control another hero when it comes to what you gain 2 life. So that's really just I don't know, really broken common. I don't know
Oh
what to
yeah.
tell you about it.
I don't know why it gains 2 life. Did it need to do that? I don't. That's kind of funny. Yeah, because gaining 2 life incidentally on cards, I mean, that matters a lot in limited nowadays.
Yeah, and my other observation about this format when I've actually played a reasonable number of drafts just out of curiosity, is that it reminds me a lot of a core set that is just dressed up in comic book style, which is kind of funny to think about. I think there's a lot of really not good cards that people put in their decks and that causes them to lose. I look for high I tried to play I I've ignored a lot of the synergies in this format because I think they're mostly not great, frankly. Like when I draft Rakdos, I just draft Rakdos control. I just ignore like I don't ignore all the synergies, but I ignore most of them because I just think those cards are bad. And I just look for ways to draw cards and kill all my opponent's stuff. Like I
Yeah,
basically just draft like ninth edition.
yeah. I feel exactly the same way. There's good removal in red and black, and that's pretty much your deck. You don't play any combat tricks or anything because they're bad with removal. You just the best creatures you can find removal. It's kind of funny that it's ended up that way, but one of the biggest, I mean, one of the biggest detractors or losers for this is villains because they
Mhm.
seem to be one of the more synergistic, uh, archetypes. So the heroes win the day.
I
Um,
I might have like a small villain package in my deck, but I would rather just like return my 1/2 like creature to my graveyard, play it, sack it, draw a card, and do that ad nauseum until my opponent's dead. Like I've literally done that to like a bunch of people, and it seems to be fine.
yeah. So the existence of this next question is because Rakdos is the worst performing archetype, at least according
Yes.
to 17 lands. Do you
Yes.
think Rakdos will trophy? And I put a featured pod here just so
Well,
it'd be easily trackable.
so sometimes they published like trophy data on like their
I
like someone
see.
will post about it. If we get it, great. If we don't, that's also fine. I think within the entire Pro Tour, it's actually very likely, or sorry, not very likely. It's reasonably likely that one pod out of day one and day two divided by eight. So suppose there are 360 players, right? Then there's like 45 draft pods. So on day one, like maybe one of them trophies, maybe on day two, one of them trophies. There will be like approximately half as many people on day two. So, I think given that many draft pods, maybe one happens, maybe even two, maybe three. It
It's
really,
possible. I
but
did,
I do agree with you. The Bant stuff is just more likely to win so much more.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It does seem quite bad.
The, the one of the real problems with black and red, in my opinion, is the creatures are so small. Like it's just really hard to like do anything with those creatures. Like their stats are just bad compared to other colors. You've like the blue creatures aren't great, but the blue spells are kind of broken, so it it sort of evens itself out, I think.
Yeah, and they don't even really. Usually, when a archetype like that has small creatures, it's usually because they have like a lot of aristocratic things going on. They don't even have that here, really. Um,
No, it was I really wonder what happened in design there for that. I mean, like the black removal spells are pretty good. The red removal spells are kind of not great in my opinion. Like
yeah, they're really
it,
not.
it's also like if you are Rakdos and you're uncontested, you're gonna have all of the removal spells you could ever want. So why would you take the bad red removal spells when you can just take off the good black ones and fill your deck with those? it's not like you really want to play more than like eight removal spells in a deck, anyways, because then like you run into issues just drawing like clunky hands. Like if you literally need to kill all of your opponent's creatures, this is not a good thing to do in limited because you don't want to have to kill like their two drops. You know?
Right, right. Um, okay, pack one, pick one of the first feature draft. What rarity will they pick?
Great question. This really is more of a I think people have described this format as a Prince format, and yes, there are quite a few rares I would love to open, especially at the Pro Tour. I hope for Jacob's sake that he opens one of those. I believe the one I would want to open the most is Captain Marvel Protector, which is the Flash Baneslayer.
Right.
Um, I would love to be white. The white is certainly the broken color, and what one of the reasons it's broken as well is if you look at the white rares slash mythics, a lot of them are very, very, very good to first pick. So that's part of it.
Yeah, for sure. I think it'll be a rare, most likely.
Sure.
Oftentimes you end up picking a common or uncommon first pack in a lot of drafts, but I think I just kind of looking through this format, like all the rares are pretty nice. The commons aren't so stellar, so like, that means that some uncommons are going to be picked in that state. I don't know. This is just sort of my thought. It does bring an interesting note about the format, whereas like it's definitely a very bomb heavy for a lot of formats would you probably pick a common as your
Yeah.
average pick, anyways.
So I think I would go with rare. There's enough like broken blue and white rares that people would be happy first picking. Now the real question is, what if you open like a broken red rare? I
Right.
don't think the color imbalance is so much that you shouldn't take it. I think that's just like causing like there is a theory that draft is somewhat self-correcting. I mean, the imbalance is kind of bad, but it's not so bad that you should just not take your broken like red or black card, I think.
Yeah, especially in pod, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think Vision Quest is actually an excellent card. I don't know if you know what this card does.
Which one is that?
X blue red sorcery.
Oh yeah.
Search your library and slash your graveyard for an artifact creature with mana value X or less. Put it on the battlefield with X additional encounters. If X is 4 or greater, it gains haste until end of turn. So even if you have like something like Herbie in your deck, you just play this for X is 4, get Herbie, attack them for 6 draw card. Like that seems insanely broken to me. And that's just with a common.
Yeah, and you can get it out of your graveyard too, which is super nice.
Yeah.
And if you only have one or two of these and it dies, it's kind of no big deal. One thing about this card is it's pretty splashable because it's
Yep.
kind of an expensive single pip red. So that one in particular is I'd be pretty happy to pick. But you say Captain Marvel, and I agree that's a great one. But the standout kind of rare in my mind for this set
Um,
has definitely been Superhero Civil War, mostly because
that's
it's
it.
a rare and it's
Yes.
not a mythic like Captain
Well,
Marvel.
I recently played a draft where my opponent played Superhero Civil War and returned it with the 2/1 that like rebuys permanents. I
Oh my
managed to survive
gosh.
all of that. And so I was like four after all of this with like kind of stale ward. Then he played another Superhero Civil War from their hand. I'm just like, the hell is this? So I died to that one. But it's really impossible to tank three castings of that card. Two like even tanking
Yeah,
two
I'm
castings of that
surprised you
card is
survived
ridiculous.
too.
Well, I like did a lot of stuff like planning ahead that I was gonna bounce my own two creatures right at this spot so I wouldn't be dead, and they didn't have a lot of pressure on me, so I ended up at like a low life total but manageable. The second one I like disenchanted it, and then the third one I'm just like, okay, this is ridiculous. So just like fuck off, come on.
Yeah,
Like
this
why?
this in my mind seems like another design mistake to not make this mythic. It's also like a super
It makes
flagship
sense.
moment that it
Yes,
could have been easily
exactly.
mythic. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yes. I. That's the other thing about this format. It's actually really easy to splash things. So things that are single pip on one side, like this thing, even if you're only one of the two colors, please just for the love of God take it and splash it. You'll probably win more.
Yeah, it's
Like
absurd.
even if it's pack three, like make it work. If you have to play 18 lands, probably still worth it. Just make it work.
All right, how about this? On camera, do you think someone will win with this card in draft?
If they're lucky enough to open it, yes. Yes. I don't. This card is
I
just
think
ridiculous.
I think it'll happen because it's such an absurd rare that it just like
Yes.
if it just gets opened in one of the
Yes.
featured pods, it's just like so likely to find its way
Well,
onto camera.
I guess there's only two feature pods, so we can hope that maybe that doesn't happen, but yeah.
Yeah. And then I
Um,
was saying, they play maybe a match. You're like 40% to see it per game, I would say. So like you play a match, you're getting up there, to see it more likely than not.
well, also, it really is a slow format as long as you don't get run down by like flyers real fast, in my experience. Another card that induces like sort of a similar sort of thing, but not quite as bad, is Leader, Super Genius. Mostly because the opponent just ends up drawing their deck like pretty quickly, and they get a bunch of plus encounters on something. It's sort of infuriating to play against that one as well.
Yeah, one of the things that definitely makes this a like Prince format, I would agree with, is so many of the rares get so much value or are unanswerable. That's kind of the big difference. Whereas like, in some formats there's crazy rares. I think in like Avatar there was a lot of really good rares, but a lot of them were kind of answerable before they completely
Mhm.
broke the game open. So that's a big change here.
I think another big difference in Avatar was I think the cards weren't quite as bad, like between like I do think a lot of the cards in this format are just a little bit weaker than they were in Avatar. That's how it feels like to me. It's like closer to core
Yeah,
set power level.
but
Whereas
the rares
Avatar,
weren't.
the Avatar, like there were kind of a bunch of broken uncommons that let you do things as well. So it kind of just evened itself out.
Yeah, that's a good point. I agree. Okay, Jacob's also going to have to draft. What do you think? Will he go 2-1 or 3-0 on his first draft, day one?
I think he will, yeah, because I mean, I guess you know Jacob better than I do. I don't know how much he actually has drafted IRL or whatever, but in pod draft is definitely different from drafting online. I think a lot of the people who play these events only do online drafts, and I think that's like kind of a mistake. I think you really want to do some pod drafts, especially paper pod drafts. The MTGO single limbs are a good proxy for this, but unfortunately you only get to play one match if you lose round one, which isn't great. I sort of prefer to like just organize an 8-person draft and play out all 3 rounds regardless of win or lose, just to collect all of the information. Um, so I think there's an experience edge for Jacob there, if I had to guess.
Yeah, at this point, Jacob's like pretty experienced player with paper in pod drafts. He's played a lot of
Right.
pro tours. Day one drafts of pro tours can often be a lot softer than day two drafts because you get
Hmm.
people who qualify via constructed means and aren't very experienced in draft. And he actually told me that he's been preparing for draft the most. That was sort of his strategy, where he didn't really feel like he could get a super big edge in modern. So he was going to focus a lot on limited for this pro tour, just because modern is just such an established format basically.
Yeah, interesting about modern. I mean, I guess we've said a bunch about it, but I think really the MTGO deck lists cover a lot of ground. And so I think a lot of teams just default to starting from there and like just picking stuff that they like. I think very rarely do you find someone with the vision or time or creativity to build a deck from the ground up and keep it secret and like have a team that's willing to work on it and tune it enough for it to be a true breakout in modern nowadays.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, this next one you're going to have to give me a bit of a preamble for because I don't know who this player is.
Okay. Well, so Stefan Schutz, he's on Team Handshake, so one of the better teams. Before the last two PTs, he said he basically told me that he was losing all of the in-house drafts, and he just 6-0 limited both times. So it's
Hmm.
just like, yes, I would gladly lose all of the in-house drafts if I knew I would not lose a matchup draft at the Pro Tour.
Hey, you learn
So,
a lot when you lose, okay?
well, yeah. I mean, obviously, maybe he was doing something wrong at the beginning, but then later figured it out. Or maybe he just, like you said, like maybe the day one first pod is easier than all of the in-house drafts he played, right?
Yeah,
Like that's very
probably.
possible, especially if you're playing with Team Handshake. Like I I do think having the in-person 8-person drafts, recording everything, like talking about everything and playing out all the matches is worth so much, like I said again. I think that is like a huge differential between the people who don't have a super team and the people who do. Like I think that might be even more valuable than any the constructed preparation, honestly. Like
Yeah.
the good drafters, basically most of them don't really exist that much. Like Mike Sigris is probably the one of the last bastions. The Ham TV, although funny thing about the Ham is he doesn't even draft like what I would consider to be closer to the like pro tour level because he only drafts on arena like BO1Q and like gets a number one like a large portion of the time because he is that much better than his opponents. Like he really is shooting fish in a barrel doing that stuff, but he enjoys doing it.
Yeah,
So
I'm excited for the draft pro tour or whatever they're
well,
calling it.
so
For this reason, sort of. I think there's a lot of very
mhm.
experienced, draft players that really have a big edge, and it just you don't get to, you do get to at the pro tour. Draft's still really important, but it's not really highlighted, and you don't get to see that
so
experience very often.
the, the reason I actually brought that up is I think the projected number of wins Stefan needs is like 15 or so. So he gets one more draft trophy to qualify for that event because it like tracks all of the limited events or limited stats at each of the pro tours. So if he ever misses a day two, it's kind of bad for his auto qualification. But I think he's very close to already being qualified based on just number of draft wins at the PT. So that's why I brought this up.
Okay.
So I think he will trophy
Okay. I was leaning towards yes, not even knowing who it was, because if they've
because it's absurd.
if they've had that
Yeah.
good of a run, they obviously know what they're doing, and like,
Well,
it, well,
yeah.
it's more likely than not that they know what they're
Yes.
doing, and then it's not like because they've trophied four, they're less likely to
Hmm.
trophy a fifth time. They're probably more likely. Um,
Right.
so sure, I went with yes. This is a fun one. What do you think the best performing Hall of Famer? Who do you think it will be?
Well, there's a lot of Hall of Famers that pulled out invites for this one. If you actually looked at the invite list, I don't know if you did.
I breezed through it to make sure the person I checked wanted to pick was on it.
All right,
So I
so I'm
saw
not
a
looking
few
at your
names.
thing. I'm gonna look at the invite list again real quick. Pro Tour Marvel superheroes. God, that's sort of a cursed sentence to type into Google, isn't it? I never thought I would type that sentence in.
Yeah, I haven't gathered any of your opinions about UB yet, but maybe that's for the best.
Well, I'm not like completely anti it, but there are some things that are really frustrating about it, is what I would say.
Yeah, that seems like a
All right,
pretty fair take.
let's see. I guess am I allowed to count Seth? Because
Yeah,
he is
he's a
okay.
Hall of Famer, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm gonna pick Seth Manfield then. Um,
That's fair.
funny
A
thing
little
about
boring,
Seth
but that's
is,
fair.
well, the first time I encountered Seth was when he was like 12 at an F&M in Maryland, and he beat
Oh
me. And I'm
wow.
just like, well, it, I was like 18, I think. I don't remember how old I was, but it was like Kamigawa standard, original Kamigawa. And we were playing a greater Gifts Ungiven mirror. So this deck had like Gifts Ungiven, Greater Good, reanimation as well as like Glorious Vengeance and Physis. This was actually a Frank Carson deck from Worlds that year, so both of us were playing it. And he just beat me in a mirror. I'm just like, this kid beat me in this mirror. This is like not an easy deck to play, so he must be great,
Yeah,
you know?
at 12.
So
Wow.
yeah.
Back in the day.
I maybe I have the age slightly wrong, but it was very early. So
He was a kid. Yeah.
yeah.
All right,
I'm
fair
gonna
enough.
pick Seth.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it's I was tempted to pick like, Seth or Reed or
Sure.
something. But so I have it burned into my memory. The last Modern Pro Tour, where Shuhei
Uh
Nakamura was playing Affinity, and he almost, I mean, he had a really good run, and I was
mhm.
rooting for him. And I still think Affinity's well positioned, and they kind of had an innovative take on them. They're the ones that the Japanese were the ones that added weapons manufacturing to
Weapons
the deck.
manufacturer. I remember this, yeah.
So I think maybe if he might still have a good handle on the deck. There's a good chance he'll play that. And just other than that, I noticed he's been playing a lot and competing a lot, so he seems like on top of his game and a little bit
I
of rooting for him as well. But yeah, that's who
uh
I picked.
I think he ended up going to Vegas playing with who do you play with? Gosh, I can't remember.
I didn't know his team. No, I only knew him. But I
Okay.
saw, yeah, he was even in a feature matchup against Jacob's team,
Oh, nice. Nice.
so it was cool. Okay, and then back to our mutual friend Jacob here. Do you think he'll secure another PT invite? So, because from what I understand, because he deferred the last PT, he needs to get 9 wins this PT for another invite.
Okay, well, 9 wins isn't that bad, but it does mean you have to day two first and then be reasonable on day two. I'm gonna go with yes, but it is a little bit close for comfort now because I know like due to how the system works, sometimes you only need to day two to get that last invite, depending on where you are. So like deferring a PT is kind of bad for this sort of thing, but whatever. Obviously, it makes a lot of sense that he would do that for obvious reasons. But I'm gonna go with yes. I believe in Jacob.
Yeah, I also believe I couldn't bring myself to say no, so I'm just gonna close my eyes and say yes no matter what. But
Right.
yeah, I do think. I mean, he's remarkably consistent
Hmm.
at Pro Tours, at least doing you know well enough.
Well,
Um,
I think modern is definitely his strongest format. Like he usually identifies something that's exploitable in the format and usually just goes that way, is my experience.
yeah, and he has a pretty wide breadth of like decks he can play, I would say.
Hmm.
So that gives him an edge too. Where if he can find an edge somewhere, he's not very limited by archetype, I would say.
Right.
Yeah. All right, I've got some other questions here. Some on the more fun side, maybe. This one talking about our Scarlet Witch, I wrote as chaos magic. Will we see any chaos magic at this Pro Tour? And I've defined that as will there be a turn two kill on camera?
Okay, so what decks can kill in turn two? Ruby Storm can, but you need like Ritual, Reducer, Ritual, and then go up from there. You can, well, Uniform doesn't really kill on two, but a lot of people like to concede on turn two. So that, wait,
I,
is it just Ruby Storm that can kill on two in the format then?
to be fair, in my mind, I was kind of considering Neobrand as a turn two deck, but
Well, the
because
current
can't they go off on
Neoform,
turn one?
the Neoform deck.
The Neobrand deck, like Grizzlebrand
So,
Neoform, yeah.
well, it's warped itself, so it can't actually kill you once it puts the thing into play. Like it's like fair,
Mm,
so-called fair, like which is sort of a ridiculous concept because you have this Atraxa Gristle ran into play with like Pact of Negation in your hand. So it's kind of a ridiculous concept to call that fair. Um,
yeah, I mean
for
that's
those
not
of
going
you
to
who
be
are
killed.
wondering, the way it gets out of paying all of those packs is to replicate Consign, turning all of the pack triggers on its next upkeep. So I don't think you really want to make something on turn. You can if you want to play bad cards like Chancellor of the Tangle or Gemstone Caverns. But I think most people don't do that. So it's usually like a turn two deck if you want to qualify it as putting it. Now it can literally kill on two if you have Xenagos in your hand or a way to get Xenagos in your hand. Because what you do is you get Galton to play, then the Xenagos gives it enough power and haste to lethal your opponent.
Okay. All right, so not super likely then. But I mean, turn two, you get it's kind of a turn two kill then. I mean,
Sure.
giant
No,
creatures
it
plus pact.
yeah, I would say yes, but I think it's more likely to happen in Ruby Storm, is what I would say.
Yeah, that's certainly where it's most likely to
Yeah.
happen. I guess Amulet Titan can't do it anymore without
Um,
Lotus Field.
I think it's possible, but you would have to play a bunch of really bad cards in your deck that no one plays anymore.
Right.
Like, so in the old Amulet days, like in 2015, you could just attack for 20 on turn two
Yeah,
because
for
of Boros
sure.
Garrison Sunhome, and it would double trigger. So the you would activate your Slayer Stronghold twice, which would put it to 10 power. Then Sunhome would double up to 20. So I think if you have two amulets, theoretically, if you play some bad cards, you could do that again. But I think most people just don't play those cards anymore.
Yeah.
So
I might have to revise my answer to no, but I did put yes. Guess
I'll go with yes if you want to put no.
okay. I'm gonna have a little challenge there. Boy, if Ruby Storm ends up doing really well, it's kind of gonna blow up my whole prediction sheet here.
You are sort of all in on Ruby Storm being a dog shit deck, aren't you?
I'm all in at this point. Sunk cost. All right, how about
Yeah.
this one? Infinity War. Will someone harness the Mind Stone on camera?
So I don't think it's going to happen constructed, so it'd be in draft, probably.
I did see it in some Ponza deck lists.
I'm going to go with no. This is so unlikely. It's not even that good to harness in limited, like frankly.
Uh,
Like it's
it's
okay.
okay. It'll come up though. You'll probably do it a lot
Yeah.
of the time that you have it in play.
So how many of these stones are there supposed to be total in the like Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Six.
So we're
So
gonna have four more sets of this
I
stuff?
hope not.
But we're going that route, right?
It does seem that way. Yeah.
What was the
Um.
first one? The
But
Soul Stone?
But they could start shoving some in some commander decks. Yeah, the Soul
Mm.
Stone.
So now we're at the Mind Stone, as opposed to Mind Stone, which is also in Modern.
Yeah. I wonder how locked in they are. Like if these Marvel sets start doing badly, can they pull the plug, or are they just like, nope, we've got the
Uh,
deal rights for 6 in the next 5 years. We got to do it.
that is a question for Hasbro Corporate with whoever owns Marvel
Yeah,
Corporate.
we'll never know. Basically,
Yes, correct.
I also think no, but I was low confidence because if they decide to play, if that red white Ponza deck decides to play it, it's the kind of deck where it's like super likely that they could just activate it if they're winning a game. You know,
Oh my gosh.
they could blink their knights or whatever. Uh, all right, we got a duo question here: hero of the weekend and villain of the weekend.
So,
This one you're gonna have to get a little creative.
okay,
Which heroic card will have the best weekend?
I
This is
see.
this is up to your interpretation of what cards are heroic and which of those you think will be do the best.
Huh. Um,
Let me tell you what I chose. Maybe
okay,
it'll help you understand what I'm going up for. So I chose Quantum Riddler.
I
Really
see.
really good powerful modern card, and I think it's a hero because it's kind of this grindy mid-range card, fair card, quote unquote fair. You know, it's modern. You
Mhm.
only get so fair. Um, and he comes to save the day whenever you mulligan. So
Oh, that's cute. That's a really good answer. Oh my God. I wish I had thought of that answer now. He's the hero you need when you mulligan, right?
yeah,
That's how you.
he's the hero you need. You maybe don't
Uh,
deserve him, but getting my
well,
DC Marvel crossed here.
I guess I'll go with Ragavan Nimble Pilferer. Even though
Okay,
I don't really believe in the Boros deck, but Ragavan's still powerful. Like,
it is a really good card. Yeah, I mean it's possible someone would put it in a different deck, and
and I do think Ragavan is the hero nowadays as opposed to the villain.
which is funny. Yeah, he definitely used to be the villain.
Oh, people hated it, and it was
Yeah,
just like, I don't know. Well, there's a lot of power creep in Modern. I don't think you can really just hate a card forever.
yeah. I tried to think if I saw the card on camera, would I be more or less likely to root for the person who cast it? And probably if I
Hmm.
saw Ragvan, I might be rooting for them. He's the people's
Sure.
monkey. Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. What about villain of the weekend?
I would say Cleansing Wildfire.
Okay. Yeah.
That's definitely a villain card.
That's pretty
You're
villainous. Yeah.
you're not putting in that card.
Yeah,
You
that's pretty villainous.
are on a mission to do one thing to your opponent, and that is to look at their deck list and count how many basic lands are in it. That is really what you're on a mission for.
It's just a cycler, and they search for a land. It's okay.
Well, it's I, I've seen the following experience happen multiple times where Mono Blue Belcher sits down and plays against this deck, and it's actually just a bloodbath in the opposite direction. Because usually that sort of deck can never beat Belcher, but
Yeah.
now it's just like actually super good because with the high noons as well, you get a window to actually Wrath of the Skies there will just swim away as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So
Easy
it,
peasy.
it is a bloodbath. Even with two basics, I think there's still like a massive dog. Like
Yeah. Price of it. Those like cards, Price of Freedom, Cleansing, whatever, they could kill basics, so that's pretty nice. Even though you're like Demolition Fields or whatever can't.
yeah.
Yeah. I put Kappa Cannoneer.
Oh, that's a good villainous turtle.
Yeah, he seems pretty villainous. He's kind of like the boss fight, you know? Comes down, ruins your day. Especially if he comes in too early if you're not prepared. All right. Uh, the final one's a long shot guess. So
Mhm.
obviously, it won't hold you too much if you don't get it. But what archetype would you guess wins the PT?
Huh. This is a tough one. That's like equivalent to asking what deck I would register in the Pro Tour. Because if like
Yeah, I found that too.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So basically I'm asking myself, what would I register in the Pro Tour and why do I think it will win the Pro Tour? You know what? I'm gonna go with Jeskai Chant because I
Oh
think Orange
wow.
Chant is super good right now, actually. And I would hope I would have a team that can help me tune the deck enough,
Yeah.
really.
So this is kind of like blue white control, right? You just got to red
Yeah.
splash.
I think you need the red removal spells, otherwise bad things can happen to you. But
Yeah.
I've not played a single game about it with it. I'm just thinking about it theoretically.
Mhm. In my mind, when I was speaking about like blue white control being, doing well at this breath,
Sure.
or this is kind of within that vein, or you're splashing for galvanic discharge or some other red things. Um, okay, I chose Esper Glorious Vengeance. This seems like a deck that a lot of like talented players like. It seems like, and it's the kind of deck where if the weekend breaks right for it, it's just doing something really powerful. I expect it to be pretty popular. It's got our hero, Quantum Riddler.
It has our villain Gristlebrand.
Yeah, is Griselbrand a villain? He looks pretty villainous, I
I
guess. You
think
look at it.
any deck trying to put
He's pretty
Gristlebrand
tough.
into play is probably a villainous deck.
Yeah, I think overall this is a villainous deck for sure. Psychic
Well,
Frog
Anthrax is
also kind
definitely
of
a
a villain.
villain.
Yeah.
And sometimes Ulamog the Defiler is also a villain in that deck. Although I think the more modern versions of this deck play Superior Spider-Man, from what I've seen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at a list right now in Goldfish and they have Superior Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think that's a very recent update to the deck.
Seems pretty reasonable. Yeah. One Griselbrand, four Atraxa.
All right, the real question is, do people still play this freaking Philology Archaeologist card?
Should they?
I don't think they should, but I think people do it occasionally. It seems bad to me.
I agree, but what do I know?
Well, I didn't test for this tournament, so I don't know very much, probably.
That's okay. We'll make our predictions all the better when we're correct.
But I think in reality, one thing that might happen this tournament is we'll actually see the full power of Psychic Frog this tournament, as opposed to last time. Like the last few modern PTs, I don't think Frog was actually that good to register, but I think now it might actually be very good to register
Okay. Um,
because of
Psychic
the Boros
Frog.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely a powerful card. It's funny every time I talk to Jacob in a Modern episode, he's kind of dissing on Psychic Frog in Modern.
well,
But
I
maybe
think a
it's
lot.
mostly like those blue black,
Yeah,
like mid range decks he doesn't like, I think. But
I might trick myself into playing Grixis Death Shadow and RCQ soon just to block for people. Well, I would play 4 Quantum Riddler in my Shadow deck for sure. Like, I don't think you're allowed to. I just think Frog plus Riddler is too broken.
it's pretty absurd, yeah.
And also, Riddler plus Mishra's Bulb was actually kind of broken too. You can just stack up a draw to get an extra card that
Yeah,
way as
I'm
well.
surprised Riddler doesn't find his way into more blue decks, even in just like maybe small numbers or a sideboard card, even. I've really liked Riddler in Standard as like a sideboard card for like Izzet decks and whatnot when you get into really grindy matchups. Just having small numbers.
Well, the VV Riddler thing was everywhere for a very short period of time until they banned the deck.
Sure,
Probably,
that's kind of a different
well,
animal, but
that deck was just
the
not.
Quantum Riddler deck, yeah,
Well, it was also the make 54 men on turn 4 deck or
not
whatever.
reasonable, yeah,
Yeah, it was
for
extremely
Standard,
unreasonable.
anyways. There's a lot of unreasonable things in Standard right now, but that one topped it pretty big, yeah,
Yeah,
pretty hugely. Um, the last question was, what would you register? I guess you answered it.
yeah.
I And in that same vein, I would, if I could practice and had time to prepare whatnot, I think Esper Goria's Vengeance is where I would think I'd be. Obviously, if I was playing with a team in practice, I might choose something else. But if I literally you had to teleport me there, right now, and I had to play this weekend when I haven't played a game modern in 5 years, I chose Boris Energy for that. If
Hmm.
that was the case,
Yeah.
Boris Energy does seem like a relatively simple deck to play for people who played a lot of Magic. Just seems like
Mhm.
good old fundamental mid-range gameplay, but
It's just 20 and 26 Jund. It's just if if you're allowed to do the thing, you can output like 25 damage on turn 4 or whatever. Like
yeah,
not often, but due to also at Pride scaling often enough that it like does have kind of a cap on how bad a matchup can actually be, even though like I think sort of fundamentally why I don't like the deck as much as I did before is I mean, just losing the easy late game arena Fleege thing that was ridiculous is a lot to lose.
yeah, I agree. Hey, at least you don't have to pick the wrong card with Thoughtseize or whatever. That was one of the harder decisions in, in John.
Yeah. I also wonder if Jessica Chance heavily played. I wonder if a lot of people know the forbidden tech for escaping the chant lock for a single turn in the chant mirrors.
I don't know it. Tell me.
So your opponent activates Escron Scepter. The ability goes on the deck. You just chant them in response. So then their chant can't be cast
Oh,
once the
sure.
ability resolves. I don't think a lot of people know that. I know this because the first GP I played, I actually registered Scepter Chant, but I knew my deck inside out. But the deck was horrible for me to play because I wasn't actually very good. I knew like all of the rules interactions,
Yeah,
but I didn't actually know how to play good Magic, which is a
I
real
see.
problem.
Yeah. I also tend to really like Control X, but I wouldn't. I'd be worried in my current state of playing that deck in Modern because it seems like you have to know a lot about the format to pilot that
Well,
well.
you have to know a lot about the format, and you also have to play really, really, really fast. I think like it is certainly on you to finish a game of Magic. I'm not, I'm not worried for most people who decide to play that deck. I would be worried if Gab doesn't speed up his pace of play in a paper
Yeah,
tournament.
maybe Gab needs to
It's,
add a win condition to his deck. He needs like
yeah,
Hall of Storm Giants or something.
maybe a single secure the waste like the old days of
Oh.
just get control. That's the easy mode button. You just like cast it for 10 and they're dead, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Hey, have you seen Hall of Storm Giant? It's pretty big. It's got Ward. I think
but what
people
if
don't
you
really play it anymore, but I mean that'll close a game.
I think Gab maybe had one in its last version. So
Okay, it won.
I
Yeah.
my question is how many monumental henges will people play? I would certainly play the first copy. That card seems great.
Oh, I was playing a lot of historic a bit ago, and I was building my own blue white control decks in historic, and I found Monumental Hedge to be kind of absurd. It was very integral to my deck.
You can find Isochron Scepter.
Yeah, super strong card.
You can find Teferi 5 if you want to play that, or Teferi 3, or I don't know, various other things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thanks for coming on again, Jarvis. This was fun. How we're gonna have to keep track of this. I guess I'll post in the Patreon. I'll post our document for everyone to see, so you guys can roast us if we did a bad job, or if we did a good job. I'm gonna be making clips and putting it on YouTube, so you'll see those. All right. Is there anything you'd like to plug, Jarvis, where people can find you? Do
um,
you want to be followed anywhere on social media?
I guess I still technically stream about like once per week on my day off on
Oh, that's
Twitch.
pretty good.
It's not the most consistent, but I try to do once per week still, which is not, the most, but I'm fairly responsive on Discord. I don't really go on X that often because it's kind of a hell site, but you can find me on Bsky. I don't know. Did If you want to find me, you probably can, or Alex can just tell you where to find me.
Okay, I'll put a link to your Twitch in
Yeah,
the
sure.
description. That'll be good. I'll have to tune in. I kind of didn't realize you still streamed.
Well, it's not at great times for you, I think, if you're a night owl. So,
All right,
because,
fair enough. I usually
because,
watch VODs anyways,
oh, sure.
so I can watch from
I
like 1.5 or while I'm doing stuff.
Sometimes I'll post. The last few VODs I posted were kind of like for really old formats, like pre-modern. So probably you weren't particularly interested. So,
I've been kind of looking at pre-modern. It looks kind of fun.
what would the Alex tech be? Do you think?
Oh, blue white control, whatever it is.
Oh, land still. That's what they
Yeah,
call it. It has
land
four
still.
standstills and four decree of justice.
Perfect. Yeah.
You're in there for a long time, not a short time, a long time.
That sounds fun. Yeah. I had the nickname of the time vampire when I played locally back in Mexico because ever since
That's
I even
not a good
started.
thing, I think.
No, it's
I would
not.
say that's a bad thing. If the moment if someone described you as a time vampire with me and I was about to play a match versus you, I'd be like, oh, so I need to
You
watch
sit up in
the
your chair a
clock.
little bit. Yeah.
I have to watch the clock. I hope I'm facing the clock.
Yeah. Well, I used to build my own control decks even when I was a really novice player, and I would always go to time. And nowadays, because I've had so much experience with control, I actually play really fast. So
Okay,
sometimes I play too fast with like non-control
sure.
decks and things. But so I've kind of gotten past that, but I still get time called the
Hmm.
time vampire, obviously. So this is my old moniker. Okay, everyone. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed. Everybody, go thank Jarvis, and we'll catch you next time. Okay, so we usually do a sign off.
Hmm.
Um, in the I don't know if you've seen, but on YouTube in the sign off area we have people's favorite magic cards. So I've got Kitchen Finks above me in the picture, and Jacob
Oh,
has
nice.
Boseiju above him. So
Which
maybe
Boseiju? This is an important question.
who shelters all?
Whoa.
Yeah,
Uh, I'm not sure if we can be friends anymore after that. That's
that's the
a
green one, right? Or
no.
am I thinking the wrong one?
Boseiju Shelters All is the one that makes instant
Oh
sorcerers
yeah, no, no, no.
invulnerable.
No, it's
Oh,
the
so,
green. It's the green one.
okay. Sorry. Never mind. That's fine then.
That's my
But
brain just hearing Boseiju and thinking that was the right one, but I guess it's
okay, sure. Well, there used to be a nickname for that card that wasn't the most pleasant. It used to be called the bitch tree
oh
because it. Well, it's very clear why someone might call it that, but
yeah.
my lifetime favorite card is Rashad and Port, actually, which I don't have a big thing of. It was a playmat at one internal weekend, so I still use it as my playmat, even though it's very dirty by this point. But I just like it, so I
Yeah,
don't know.
Rashad and Port's a good choice. That's a
But
nice
the
one.
art is so nice.
Yeah, art's
Even the
nice, kind of classic gameplay, that they'll never
well,
bring back.
that yeah. To be fair, it's been power crept out of Legacy by a lot because it's not surprising.
Sure.
But the art of the card is so good. But ports are still expensive because of pre-modern, where they're heavily played and like
Okay.
goblins, some like sphere of resistance terravore decks. Which when you put those words together, I'm aware that the format starts to sound more and more miserable because like sphere of resistance plus Roshan port means one person probably is only playing Magic.
Yeah,
These decks also play Armageddon, by the way.
sure. I wouldn't want all those things to come back at once, but I actually do think a very small amount of that would actually be kind of a breath of fresh air in modern Magic, um, where you actually can interact with your opponent's lands a decent amount. I think that's just something that old Magic, it was kind of cool that that was an angle,
Mhm.
and it's just not anymore at all.
Just reprint Dust Bowl. It'll be okay. I can be trusted with Dust Bowl.
Oh, can you now?
No, the landfall deck with Dust Bowl, I think would you could just sideboard two Dust Bowl in that deck instead of Demolition Field and be really, really painful for people to play against that, I think.
Yeah, probably. I was always a fan of Tectonic Edge. Felt like that was a
Oh, that was yeah. It's just the double edge thing was really
maybe
hard
we
to
could get rid
explain
of
to
that.
newer player. Yeah, we maybe we can fix it somehow. I don't even know how you would fix it, but the double edge thing was always it was hard to explain to newer players why that worked.
Yeah, maybe you have to activate it at sorcerer speed or something.
Oh, that's a good fix.
Yeah, yeah. Although end of turn tech edge was cool too, but oh well.